Hello everyone, 76 Patriot here, and today, instead of discussing the presidential race, I'm going to take a break and instead focus on the North Carolina gubernatorial race. And this is a big one. This is the most competitive governorship up for grabs this year. So to dive right in, the real question is, can Mark Robinson pull it off in November and win against Josh Stein? So for all of you who don't know, Mark Robinson is the incumbent state lieutenant governor. He is possibly one of the most based candidates running the cycle. He's an America First, freedom fighter, conservative. He's running against Josh Stein, and this is the incumbent AG of the state. He is kind of paints himself as this moderate and is grifted into politics by doing that. However, he's not at all. He's just another liberal Democrat from Raleigh. And so that, it's important to have a little bit of background information on both of these guys before we actually get into the kind of main meat of the race. So basically, if we look at, and I should actually mention this, North Carolina is a state that does massive ticket splitting historically. So, even though it's a fairly Republican-leaning state, it'll vote for Republican on the presidential level, and then Democrat, whether it's governor, AG, secretary of state, whatever on the state level. So back in 2016, we can see that Trump won the state by over 3 points. At the same time, Cooper won by a smidge, point 22. Cooper was the then, he's now retiring governor, actually. So that's ticket splitting going on right there. Now, actually, fast forward to 2020, Trump won by a decreased margin of over 1, so not by a big margin. Fast forward to 2020, Cooper won by over 4. So you can see, at least in the past several races, and actually historically, North Carolina loves them some ticket splitting. And so really the question is, can Trump drag, for lack of a better term, Robinson along, across the finish line with down ballot effects? I think yes, but let's look at polling to see so far what that has been telling us. So on the real clear average, we can see that Stein is barely up by 0.2. That is not good for a guy that everybody paints as this super electable moderate Democrat. You can see he's kind of collapsed in polling, at least recently. Back just in April and May, he was up by healthy 3 points above Robinson in polling. So that's definitely a good sign for Robinson, even though polls obviously aren't everything. One thing I will say about polls in North Carolina, at least for the past two gubernatorial races, they've had a substantial pro-Dem bias. So back in 2016, you can see Roy Cooper was, projected, or not projected, rather, in the polling aggregate. He was up by 2. He won by 2 points less than that. Barely won. 2020, he's up by 11. Look at that. Look at the difference. Look at that massive Democratic overstatement there. So even if, these polls, at this point in the race, if Robinson only gained 0.2%, like barely, he would win. Sure, it'd be a squeaker, but it doesn't matter as long as he wins. So that's a good sign, in my opinion, that it's actually this close at this point in the race. And maybe just get a better picture of what's actually going on here, let's actually look at Josh Stein's electoral history to see if he is the powerful juggernaut everybody says he is. So again, I hate Wikipedia. I just love their simplistic breakdowns where they show counties and find it useful sometimes. So Josh Stein, back in 2016, won his attorney general race by 0.4%, the closest margin, of the 2016 cycle. That is not much for a guy that, at least in state politics, is basically seen as, unbeatable. I live in North Carolina, and I can tell you that's kind of some of the sentiment, at least among a lot of Democrats that I have been around. Fast forward to 2020, he won by less. Even as Trump won by less, he won by less, 0.26. So this guy is massively overrated, and he's basically overrated because Robinson, has said some controversial statements, most of them based. I agree with him wholeheartedly on most things he says. It's just, people kind of perceive that as oh, well, Stein, because he's kind of towing the line and not saying anything, actually not standing up for anything that's right, you know, in regards to family or abortion or whatever, oh, he's more electable. Not necessarily. So if we actually look at, there's actually one more thing I want to say. Basically, um, Democrats have been doing historically well governors in this part, the eastern part of the state right here, with the it's kind of a black belt of North Carolina, high minorities, ancestral Dems. Basically, Josh Stein is the last, or he is the first rather, candidate to not be from this area. The last like 4 or 5 governors, and I have a poli-sci teacher, he said that's how they've been able to basically win. They run up the margins in this part of the state and pull off these squeaker victories. Well, the problem is Josh Stein's from Raleigh, so he does not have any of those ties. And also, this area is moving to the right rapidly. So, this, I think, is a good sign for Robinson. Another one. And also, if we look on here, we can see the Cook Political Report, a very liberal outlet, actually moved a number of weeks, I believe, at the time of this video, moved this race to toss-up. They had it as leaning Democrat. So, and we can even see, actually, I don't know why that article, there we go. For whatever reason, that wasn't working. That's embarrassing, but whatever. We can see right here. Yeah, that's where they don't like Robinson. His track record of controversial remarks have been broadly, here's one of the reasons, though, why they've changed the rating. Strong fundraising skills. So Robinson is not a Doug Mastriano, and I am not knocking Mastriano, Pennsylvania's gubernatorial candidate in the last midterm election. I liked Mastriano. I thought he was a pretty solid candidate. The problem was he got crushed like 30-1 as far as fundraising, couldn't get his message out, and got absolutely crushed in the general. Robinson is not doing that. He's actually, he's on, according to this, The Hill, he's on track to bring in the most money ever for a Republican gubernatorial nominee in the state. That is crazy. And that shows, in a good way, that people like this guy. I like him. Heck, a lot of people are supporting him, and his message is getting out. Again, the race is virtually tied. And so, even liberal outlets are moving us to toss-up. Because when this race first started, you had a lot of people saying, oh, it's Stein's race to lose. Robinson, he's another one of these MAGA extremist, crazy people that is just going to get demolished in a landslide. Not exactly the case. Voter registration in North Carolina, I should have brought this up earlier too. Republicans have surged. There is, compared to 2020, there are, I believe it's like 100,000 or something crazy more Republicans than there were before. And so all that combined, whether it's polling, fundraising, support, past results, I personally am going to rate this race as tilt Republican. And now this could change. I don't see a solid favorite like, oh yeah, Robinson's going to win or Stein's going to win. This is just at the moment. But I do see some indicators hinting that perhaps at this moment, hopefully, Robinson has the very slightest edge to this race. And I think Trump also will produce down-ballot effects. I predict he's going to win the state by more than either of the past 2 times. Certainly, if anything, closer to 2016 by about 3 to 4 points. Maybe more if he's surging. It depends. But I think that'll be more than enough to overcome any ticket splitting, and narrowly. I mean, it might be, a matter of a few thousand or 10,000 votes to bring Robinson across the finish line. But it doesn't matter. As long as he gets in the governor's mansion, I think we'll see a lot of good actually happen to this state. And so that's basically it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll end on this hopeful note right here. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.